So we are all from different streams, some of us from academia, some of us from industry, some of us from the media. So the way I would say that we try to do it, all of us have, we are recognized, in our own ways, in our own domain. So those from the industry. So I would ask you to relate some of your experiences when your brand evoked a positive response, amongst customers, when you met somebody unknown in person, and the moment you said you're from this company or this brand, it evoked a positive response because of a positive experience that the person might have had, or mention a case when you've had a negative experience because of an unfortunate event that the person had, and given that he or she had a negative experience, how did you go about to your company and read it, to ensure that the same thing never happens once again. Since you're Debasish Sen from the IAS, and the government usually and IAS officers have a negative connotation. If you think of Yes Minister, the serial Yes Minister, Humphrey, had a negative connotation, but obviously you do contribute to society. So tell us something about what do you feel is the public perception about IAS officers. Everyone wants to be an IAS officer. People try 9, 10 times. No, what's the maximum number of times? 4, 5 times. Okay. 4, 5 times. So please start.
Well, that's not very flattering way to start about, I have spent 40 years in the IAS, and now you're saying people don't look at us properly because you don't understand. Let me explain. Talking about the brand of which we are talking about, there's a thing called Article 14 of the Constitution of India, which says equality before law. So everybody is equal. When I'm sitting in the chair as an IAS officer, I mean, you may be a very good brand, you may be a very bad brand, but the Constitution doesn't make a difference. So therefore, there are many checks and balances and procedures and red tapes that has to be built into the system, otherwise it gets spoiled. Only day before yesterday, I was talking about a new project. A new project, I have been in Newtown, building Newtown as the CMD. I was there for more than a decade, and I know what building is. And this was a private sector company, since you don't like IAS, so it's sort of a private sector company. And they were trying to minimize the cost of making the building. And then the problem that arises is, how can you trust a multi-crore project of construction to somebody who says who will do it very cheap? You don't know if he's run away midway, you don't know about his quality, and therefore they finally settled to a well-known brand like L&T. Mind you, it costs more than 20% than what it would have cost by that unnamed, unbranded people. But still, even private sector money, I'm not talking about government sector, they have to be sure that the man I'm entrusting this job with will finish it to its ultimate amount. The problem with the government is, it can't say that I'll give it to L&T, immediately Shapoorji Pallonji will take us to court. Why are you giving it to them? So there has to be a series of procedures, we call it quality cum cost exercise. So you have to first get a good score and then get it. People don't understand that a boardroom decision and a government decision can't be equated. You have to be in the government or you have to be in the board to understand. So I will say that certainly brand matters in the overall world, but in the government there has to be certain procedures, certain transparent procedures before things are finalized that involve spending of money.
Would you tell which company you're from and your experience?
I am from Keventer Agro, and we are basically into the food processing sector. So when it comes to brand, this is something that I am dealing with on a daily basis.
Keventer.
Yeah. So
that's in Darjeeling. You have a Keventer.
Yeah. So that was
Darjeeling in front of the mall, in front of the Darjeeling club.
Yes.
And very nice milkshakes too.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just to give you a 2-minute background on the company, so that all of us are aware, this was actually a company which was started by a gentleman called Edward Keventer, some 100 years before, and he was the father of the milk revolution in India, where he would distribute milk across the country, and then he went back to Britain and the company was into liquidation, so the government sold it off in different parts. So the Darjeeling Keventer was bought over by a different gentleman. The Calcutta, we have a manufacturing facility over here, was bought by the Jalan Group. There's a Keventer's milkshake that you see across the country. That is, so it was distributed between different people, and just like the Parle G's or the Haldirams of the world, we all coexist with the same brand. We all have internally met and said that let's not fight and let's do our own set of business in our own way. So that's how we are coexisting. Coming back to what exactly I do, so we have two major lines of businesses. One is we have our own brand of dairy called Metro Dairy, based out of Calcutta.
Oh, that's where we procure our milk from.
Yeah.
My in-laws procure their milk.
So I'm sure that everyone who's been in Calcutta would know Metro Dairy. We went to the entire range of milk and ice cream and paneer and
Mishti doi?
Mishti doi is in fact one of our hot selling products today. So we do a large volume and it's growing exponentially. So Mishti doi is, of course, I think Bengal should have patented it by now, if not, but yeah, Mishti doi is also there. And the other line of businesses is we are franchisees of Parle Agro for the last 30 years. So we manufacture one of the famous brands, Fruity, and distribute it across the entire eastern part of the country. We have a manufacturing close to the airport in a place called Barasat, and that is where the real brand, Fruity as a brand, it's been there for 30 years. And a yellow drink or a green drink, if you see, there are hundreds of similar products being sold today by the name.
But Fruity is Fruity.
Yeah, but Fruity is Fruity. So yeah, it's quite an intriguing thing today where you have 99 copy brands on a daily basis across the country. Any state, any city you visit, you'll have a similar looking pack or a logo. And how do you differentiate today? Because still an Indian consumer is not that well developed. He goes to an outlet and he says, Fruity chahiye. Fruity ke jagah, the outlet, the shopkeeper might give him any other similar looking product, or for that matter, if you look at, another similar brand called Bisleri. A consumer goes and says Bisleri chahiye and he hands over any bottle of water for him. So it's become synonymous with the product. And it's always a challenge for companies like us today, that how do you differentiate or how do you talk to the consumer?
In such situations, we as academicians say, do something which is non-replicable by your competitor. Have you done something which cannot be replicated by your competitor?
See, today it is, we would love to come out with that trump card, but in today's world where everything is available at the touch of a button, those days are gone where a formulation can be a secret, or a packaging can be, something unique, because then your monopolies, trade practices and all that come into play. So it's difficult. You can have a head start. So just to give you an example, we as an organization have changed the sizing and the SKUs, etc., to a level where it takes competition some time to replicate.
Okay, to replicate. Oh, that's a very nice idea.
We try to create a moat around our product. So, when everyone was selling 200 ml, just to give you an example, live example, when everyone was selling 200 ml Fruity, we reduced the size to 160 and we launched it at 10 rupees and we sold huge volumes. Now we believe that volume can be a moat around a business, because in manufacturing, if you sell large volume to large number of people, it gives you economies of scale.
Oh, that's like fortune lies at the bottom of the pyramid.
Yeah. And for any other organization to replicate that, you have to go through that entire, time.
That's a very smart move.
And it's not difficult. It's not very easy to replicate. So either you lose money and meet the price point or the targets. Otherwise, so that is a battle that we fight. Of course, advertising is definitely that we continue doing through various endorsements and celebrities.
What proportion of your expenditure is advertising budget? So we know how much do you have to spend in branding? What percentage do you have?
See, it's difficult to put a exact number to it, but anywhere between 5 to 10% today
is advertising cost.
Is a requirement, because again, India is so huge. If you were to advertise a product only in the state of Bengal, the figure would run into crores. Now multiply that by the number of states that we have and the regional languages and geographies and the digital media and the TV media and the hoardings and banners. So the whole host of requirement, and advertising in India is not cheap anymore. If you were to advertise your product during IPL, it costs a bomb today.
I'll try to digress this, because generally whenever we talk about brands, the first things comes is consumer oriented. Okay. But say in our financial world also there is brand. What? Brand gives us what? Brand gives us consistency, quality, sense of pride, and people love to be associated with this one, either in consumptions. See, if we see in financial world also, there is a brand value. So people generally associate with the consumer brands, but we have financial brands or investor brands. For example, everybody, who is the greatest investors in the world? People will say Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, Peter Lynch, George Soros. So they also have created the brands which are the brands in the financial markets. So when we talk about Warren Buffett, we associate with, say, moat, longevity. When we speak with others, they may be a trader. Say even India also, we have many brands in the financial field, maybe Mr. R.K. Damani, maybe Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, Motilal Oswal, etc. So there is an element of trust, because everybody is dealing with money. So there is always an element of greed and fear. People sway sometimes to this side, sometimes to this side. So in our industry also, there is some sort of branding, although always the perceptions of brand is towards consumers, etc.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So many of these investors, maybe small investors, retailers, even large investors, see the portfolio, and many of our portfolios are in public domain, some of them are not in the public domain, but the quality of the investors is being reflected by the portfolio, his thought process, his tenure of holding, his quality of the companies, and what he do when there is a bear market or a bull market. So I think also that the brand also plays a very, very important part in a financial markets, whether it is an individual brand or whether it's an institutional brand like HDFC, like a SBI, like a ICICI, like a Kotak.